Hello all, this is Halloween. I am so excited about today because today we will be going to the Fogartyville Cemetery in Bradenton. But not only that, I'm going to have a co-host today, one of my best friends, Winterbauer. And she will be joining us today all day for the day. So I'm super excited about that. Fogartyville Cemetery was established in 1896. It is known from the surrounding homes and their accounts to be haunted. People will hear the sounds of young children at night. They've also seen mysterious fog surrounding certain parts of the cemetery that seems to just come and go. There is a watery grave there, which if you haven't heard of a watery grave or a water grave, it's a burial that took place some time ago, and over time water has gotten into the opening, and the casket inside was so buoyant and airtight that it seemed to have just floated up to the top and moved or raised the cement cover for the burial vault. So it's said if you push on it in a certain way, that grave water will spout out of the grave and onto an unassuming bystander. Fogartyville Cemetery was built on 4 acres of land and has just over 3,200 burials. So it's a smaller cemetery. At one time, it was all colored cemetery, so a segregated cemetery. And then it became a more all-inclusive cemetery later on. Usually I go to the cemetery first and then I grab a bite to eat later, but since I'm with my esteemed co-host Winterbauer and I don't want her to get hangry, we're going to go ahead and go to lunch first. So it may seem a little out of order today, but it's for good cause. And then I wanted to also apologize for the beginning of my footage at Fogartyville Cemetery. There was this huge gust of wind that came through and you can hardly hear me. So I kind of said everything that I was saying in that piece for the most part in my introduction. So you didn't miss much. Fogartyville Cemetery in Bradenton, Florida. See you there. Hey! It's Halloween and Winterbauer. Headed up to the Stein and Vine. We're gonna grab a bite to eat. Look, it's Winterbauer. Isn't she so cute today? That is not on the menu. That is not on I'm here with my pal, Winterbauer. Hello. We're here at the Fogartyville Cemetery. The Fogartyville Cemetery was established in 1896 and named after the Fogarty brothers, who were actually fishermen who were from Key West. So at one point, Fogartyville Cemetery used to be a segregated cemetery and then later became more incorporated with the rest of the community. So let's go in and see what we can see. Winterbauer and I have figured out that this was the original cemetery, the segregated portion. And it's still kind of segregated because it's divided by a chain link fence. So this side would actually be the segregated portion of the cemetery, and the other side would be the Fogartyville portion, which is more of a mixed culture on that side of the fence. So, but we're seeing a lot of these colored capsule tombs, a lot of cool artwork, and even though it's ill-maintained, there's a lot of really neat stuff that we've never seen before. I definitely haven't, and I'll be sharing with you in some of the stills. As you can see, this is only 4 acres of land dedicated to this particular cemetery, so it's not quite as big as some of the others, but it's this side of the cemetery is the Adams and Rogers side of the cemetery. And again, you're going to see here that it's very poorly maintained, but this side has been known to be haunted. People have heard the sound of children's voices at night, and some of the neighboring homes have definitely had experiences as well. The capsule burials, the children and the younger adults, they have painted them or added some kind of artwork, or if they were a Cowboys fan in life, or you know, things like that. You'll notice there's a lot of young people buried here, so that's probably why they often hear children's voices. But you can see that it's not real big. If you can see all the way to the other end, it's not a huge cemetery. And the other side is better kept than this side. Now, almost all of the burials in here are that capsule style burial. I think pretty much all of them. There's a couple of mausoleums, but on this side, mostly the capsule style.
River.
Oh, it's Dolores. It's a young lady.
Dolores likes her Colt 45.
Someone left this young lady a Colt 45. I like some beer too, and it's not even open. They actually left the full beer for her. This one over here has all kinds of drinks. Corona.
This one's new, that's why.
Monster energy drink and water.
This one's young.
Now, something I've noticed about the segregated cemeteries, and perhaps someone can enlighten me on this, is that a lot of them leave offerings, and I didn't know about that custom. I'm going to read into it because it's interesting to me. Oftentimes in the segregated cemeteries, I do see offerings, whether it be water, wine, cans of beer, just any kind of offering they leave, and that's really interesting to me. It's kind of like the Buddhists, how they leave food and offerings for Buddha. They leave offerings to their loved ones as well in the afterlife. So that's neat. It's different. Something you don't see every day. A lot of Army veterans here too. A lot of Army veterans. As you can see, it's capsules as far as you can see. Even the ones that have headstones are the capsule style burials. Must have been a truck driver. It's a very different headstone marker. You can see the pine needles haven't been cleaned up for quite some time. We got Dale Earnhardt over here taking a walk in the cemetery. That might actually be the real Dale Earnhardt. We have made our way over to the other side of the cemetery, and as you could probably already see, it's much nicer maintained. There's some beautiful headstones here. Not as many of the capsule style burials, more of the regular burials with the headstone, and the headstones are pretty beautiful. A lot of things have been left, it looks like. Still you have the fake flowers and some statues and whatnot, but you can tell that the management on the Fogarty side is a lot better than on the Adams and Rogers side, which is a sad thing to see. I don't like to ever see that. Hopefully that can change in the future. We are at the tomb of the Fogarty brothers. The Fogarty brothers were actually from Ireland, but they migrated to the Keys in the 1800s. And the brothers became boat craftsmen. And they were very successful at their craft and known for the way they would build boats and the boat's buoyancy. They were very well built. They actually stumbled upon Manatee County by accident. They were experiencing rough waters on one of their fishing trips, and they ended up over here near the Manatee area. Upon having some rough waters, they ran into another boat that was having a hard time as well, only their boat was starting to sink. And then what the brothers did was they went and they came to their rescue and rescued everybody on that ship and kind of set up for overnight stay just there on the shores, wherever they could get to safety, just off the Manatee River. And they ended up rescuing this other group of guys, but they also kind of liked it here. They thought it was very beautiful. They loved the Manatee River, so they ended up setting up shop here and bringing their craftsmanship, you know, and their whole fishing business here to Manatee County. So pretty cool. The Fogartyville Cemetery is actually named after them. So, and this is a pretty big plot. Goes all the way over there. There's a bench over there. Several brothers, and actually a lot of them, their deaths were quite recent. So we have some passed away here in 1998, 2010, pretty recent. You know, they've been here as a family for a few generations now. So anyway, that's the Fogarty Mausoleum and the cemetery's namesake. So we're here on the other side, which is the Fogarty side of the cemetery. Very beautiful, very well maintained, a lot of very nice headstones, and just a few, not very many mausoleums. However, the one I'm standing next to here has got to be one of the largest I have ever seen. It's got a stairway to get in. It's got all kinds of stained glass windows going all the way around. If you can see that whole mausoleum there, it's quite the spectacle. So I'm gonna go around it and show you what the entire thing looks like. So here's the front of the mausoleum. Absolutely gorgeous. I'm guessing this one probably holds about 12 people, an entire family, grandparents and all, maybe even great-grandparents. It is the largest mausoleum I have ever seen. So I'm going around right now. And there's a wraparound porch here. There's a stained glass window there. Beautiful scalloped corners on all four corners. There's a stained glass window here. It's just stunning. And it's some kind of white marble, the entire thing. It looks like it's got a little bit of fair wear and tear. But this thing probably cost more than my house. These things are not cheap. So this one is just stunning. So if you're into mausoleums, you want to come see a really cool one, come to the Fogartyville Cemetery and you will not be disappointed. Now, this is one of the 4 or 5 in this cemetery, so there's not many here. It's mostly headstones, but I just wanted to show you. I thought that was really cool. If you can kind of tell, I don't know if you can from where I'm standing, but it's not super big. This one you can get through in a couple, an hour maybe, kind of get through the whole cemetery. If you really want to stop and look at everything that's neat or different, then you're looking at maybe a couple of hours, but you will be able to see the entire cemetery, both sides. And you can tell that there's a stark difference between this side and the other. I still have another one that I'm looking for specifically, so hopefully I can find him. If not, again, I will be at a loss, but it's a pretty beautiful cemetery. I really like it, and it's a gorgeous day for a walk around the cemetery. Sounds right.
This is the one you're looking for, 1852 to 1926?
Yep.
Right here.
So one of the oldest tombstones in the cemetery that I wanted to tell you about was a guy that I was reading into earlier this morning. His name was George W. Hayden, and he was actually a traveling dentist. He was born in 1852 in South Carolina and moved here to the Manatee County area sometime around the late 1800s. And in 1880, he married his wife, Mary Tyler, and they had kids and had a very happy marriage. But he would travel around much like a preacher would back in the day, and he would set up shop in different locations in the Manatee area. He was so well known and well loved that they ended up naming a part of Sarasota after him. Because of the Great Depression, that area ceased to exist in 1917 and was taken off the map. It had lost a lot of funding, I guess, in that area. A lot of people were moving out of the area, and population was down quite a bit. So they saw no reason to keep Haydentown on the map. But it was bought out by a Mr. Brown around the 1960s, and when he purchased it, he put a lot of money into it, built it back up again. There were a lot of people moving into the area, and it became Haydentown once again. Well, Sarasota County did not like this at all. They had a lot of competition. They had a population now in Haydentown of over 5,000 people, and they just saw it as competition for Sarasota. They did not want anything to do with it. So the city council got together and voted. It was basically a nay between everybody. So the county was once again taken off the map permanently, this time in 1966. But evidently, George W. Hayden made enough of an impact on the entire community that he's somebody to be recognized, and that you may want to visit when you come here to the Fogartyville Cemetery. It's just about sunset, as you can see. We're just taking a quick rest of the walk through. We've seen most of the cemetery now, and I got to see everybody that I wanted to see buried herein. So I just wanted to show you this small little niche. So they have just this one and another very small one, and it's the only niches they have here. It looks like there's space. Anybody's interested? Fogartyville Cemetery, Bradenton, Florida. So it's pretty for a small niche. It's very nice. It's a black marble. It looks like just a type of granite stone as well. Not nearly as big as the one at Myrtle Hill, of course, but we just have this one with little angels on top. And here is the rest of it. That's it. And then they have one over here, a smaller one, a very small one. So just wanted you to see that. We're gonna head out pretty soon. We got a lot of good footage. So we're on our way out of the cemetery. One half was very beautiful. The other half could use a little work. I think we both can agree on that, right, Winter Bauer?
That is correct.
Thank you to my co-host today, Winter Bauer, for joining me. She had a great time.
Thanks for having me.
It was a beautiful day for the cemetery walk, wasn't it?
It was.
Thank you for joining us, and I'll see you soon. Big thank you to Winter Bauer for joining me today and being my co-host. We had a great time together, but we always do. Just a side note, I wanted to say that the Fogartyville Cemetery is a beautiful cemetery to visit if you like this sort of thing and you want to go see a historical landmark cemetery go to the Fogartyville Cemetery, you will not be disappointed. And just to reference the segregated portion of the cemetery, Winterbauer and I both got a heavy feeling, but I don't really think that's anything to do with paranormal. I think it's a common thing when you see something that's devastated in the way that it was. You just kind of get a heavy feeling in your heart. You know, you wish that these final resting places for these individuals could be in better shape, you know, perhaps cleaned up a bit. I've been thinking on this, and I thought it would be a great idea for the community to come together and clean up the cemetery as a volunteer project. And what I really loved about this part of the cemetery, and what was so unique and different and special, was that they took the time to paint the top of the burial vaults. They painted different colors. Like for young girls, they had a baby pink color, and there was a guy with the Cowboys logo, which I showed in the still shots. But a lot of different colors, and it looked cool. It almost gave off a Key West sort of vibe in that portion of the cemetery. And I thought, if the community came together and people that had loved ones in that portion of the cemetery, you could do that. You could pick up the whole cemetery, clean up the whole cemetery, get rid of the garbage bags and the excess of pine needles and some of the trees that look like they're, you know, on their last leg. You know, all that could be kind of cleaned up, and have each family come in and like paint the top of the burial vaults so that there's more of them that are colored like that. And you could call it the Colors Project. And it's just basically a cemetery cleanup that you're coming in and you're adding all this color and vibrancy to something that's right now very morose and, you know, heavy, weighs heavy on the soul when you walk in. Liven it up with color. Maybe plant some new trees. I don't know. It's just an idea that I had. But please remember to like, subscribe, and share the video. It helps me to be able to continue to do this for you. And I love doing this. So if you're loving the content, let me know in the comments down below. Or definitely subscribe, because that way you won't miss anything coming up. I'm going to have some really awesome cemeteries coming up, as well as haunted places and more costumes for, you know, if you're going to a cosplay convention or anything like that, you'll be able to deep dive into the costume aspect of my channel. Anyway, that does it for today. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time.